Hello everyone, welcome back to another cast video. My name is Duke and I'm a grade 10 student from Toronto. Today we have a special guest here to talk about his experience in the Wilfrid Laurier University Health Science program. So could you please introduce yourself?
Yeah, for sure. So my name is Hazeef Husein. I am originally from London, but I'm currently living in Waterloo Free University. I'm in my second year of the health sciences program at Laurier, and I am living fairly close to campus. So I have the experience of living off campus, but close enough that I'm able to walk around.
Nice. Um, and what are some things you wish you knew before going to university, whether it was the research process or just browsing their website for their offered programs?
So I was fortunate enough to have an older brother who kind of walked me through the process, which was really nice. I'm sure a lot of other people kind of wish they knew how to apply, obviously, to university in and of itself. But beyond that, for me in particular, I had two things that I kind of wish I knew walking in. The first was being in a science-based program. I'm very interested in research. So ask if they have open placements, what type of research they have, how I can join them. That was something that I kind of wish someone was able to almost explain and let me know walking into university. And the second thing was probably just knowing what supports there are and how to access them. Just because, at least at Laurier, there's a whole center that's got a lot of supports, be it mental health, be it for academic reasons, all sorts of things. And those supports, I didn't really know about them until I just started to figure them out myself. I accessed a couple of them because last year was online, didn't want to overwhelm myself. Just kind of having to trial and error it was a little bit rougher than if someone had been able to say, okay, so this is what you've got in terms of support, and this is how you reach out to them. So I think those are the two main things that I wish I knew walking into university.
I agree. It's good to get support and you can get help on the program you're studying. And why did you choose Wilfrid Laurier University? And what do you like best about your program?
So there was a few reasons why I chose Laurier in particular. So I didn't know I wanted to move out of London, which is why I didn't choose Western. But out of the universities that were available out of London, Laurier drew me in because it was a bit smaller, which you think is a bit odd, but it has its benefits. Like, it's a smaller campus than others, so I can go from corner to corner of campus within 10 minutes, which is much shorter than most other universities. Um, in terms of my program in and of itself, we only have 148 students, which means that it's much easier to make friendships and to actually get to know people rather than just being a number in the crowd. And generally, just I've been spending the last few nights even just playing volleyball with friends out on the football field, just hanging out with people. It's a lot easier to have that happen when it's in university. And it feels a bit more homey straight off the bat rather than having to get to know this area. I need to explore that before I can feel comfortable, right? So that's probably what drew me in most. As for what I like best about my program, there's probably two things. The first is what I mentioned earlier with the smaller program size, because being able to get to know someone further, you can have a tighter knit community, which means that people can help each other out. You feel like you're at home. It's less of a strange environment. And the second thing is it takes a bit of a unique standpoint because Laurier Health Sciences, it's less about medical and a bit more public health. Despite me wanting to be a doctor, I wanted to take a public health based program because it provides a different type of perspective call a health to society approach. You look at how to prevent diseases by looking at social structure and changing that to minimize the causes of the disease or the causes of any chronic illnesses. So it's an interesting program that I found just it's special in a way. You don't have as many programs like that in Ontario or in Canada overall.
And
Yeah.
can you tell us more about your programs? For example, internships, the workload in hours, environments, class size, and etc.
Um, for sure. So as I mentioned before, it's unique in the way that it takes that cell to society approach, which I explained in the previous question. As for some of the, like, for example, the opportunities within it, my program offers a co-op, which you can work over summers. I personally won't be taking that just because preparing for medical school, I have to take the MCAT and Casper, but that's something that a lot of people really tend to appreciate. And Laurier is known to be one of the better universities for co-op. In fact, I'm trying to think properly, but I believe it's the largest co-op program in Canada. It and Waterloo together. And then about the environment itself, as mentioned, because it's smaller, it's a lot more warm rather than others compared to a lot of other ones. And since it's more public health based rather than medical based, as someone who's going towards med school, there's not as many people going to med school. So there's less people that are looking at you as competition, and it's more so they're like, okay, this person's in the same program as me, I can be friends and we can actually help each other through each course. Rather than being like, okay, so I gotta make sure to beat this guy and get a higher score so that I end up being the one who makes it into med school. So that has definitely been really nice. It's a lot more of a welcoming environment. And as for the workload in hours, that's a bit of a tough question because it really depends on the person. I'm not going to lie. This is going to sound like I'm being a bit, but I've always been able to get overwhelmed. I also didn't put in a lot of hours towards my classes. And for something like midterms, which are like really large tests in the university, some people would spend 3, 4, maybe even 5 days just studying for the one midterm. I would usually spend 1 to 2 days and I'd be done, and I'd probably get around the same mark. So it really depends on how you work and how well you know your own style so that then you can cater your learning towards that way.
And overall, like, what do you think about like the how much homework about your school? Like, does your school have a lot of homeworks?
Um, so that's one where it depends on the course itself. I've only been through like the first year courses and some of the second year courses. And I will say that it's different from, for example, high school in the way that you don't get daily homework, but you'll get assignments that are almost one after the other. So for chemistry in particular, what we had last year was they actually removed the exam portion and different assignments. And we have a weekly assignment that would be worth as much as a unit test in high school. And you'd have time to work on it with others, but it would be an individual based project. And so you wouldn't have something every day where, okay, we're done to class, make sure you finish off these pages before the next class. You'd be offered pages of the textbook where you can say, okay, I'm feeling a bit less confident on this topic. I'm going to do some practice questions and that'll make me more set up for it. But the only things that we'll really do, usually we're on a week-to-week basis rather than a day-to-day basis. In fact, the only time that I could think of something that was a bit more frequent than the week-to-week basis was for some classes, you'd have to read the textbook before class just so that you could comprehend the topic and then go more in detail in class. So there'd be like a quiz or 2 questions that you'd have to hand in that would be on the textbook reading. So it wasn't really a lot when it came to homework in and of itself.
Sounds good. Like many students are struggling about the homework load. So like it's good to have some time to relax. And
Yeah, for sure.
also, what do you like best about Wilfrid Laurier University? And any best place to chill or hang out with your friends?
So in terms of, so I like best about, Wilfrid Laurier University would probably be just the campus itself. It's nicely built. Like it is smaller, so it's harder to kind of figure out what kind of format that would be. But in the way that they built it, it's been really nice because they have right where I'm next to, they have the science building, which is convenient for me. But right next to it, they have a huge football field. They call it Alumni Field, which is great for hanging out. That's actually one of the best places to chill. And then right across, so you can go work out, and then a couple of other different buildings. But it's all being shaped in a way that it's not hard to flow from one building to the next. And it's easy to go from like, okay, I'm finished classes. Now I really need a place to hang out. Oh, there's one right outside this building, which is great. And then it's like, okay, so I probably should get to work. Oh, science building's right here. There's a great place to study in here. I can just go walk in and I'm able to get some work done. Or even the library's pretty central in campus. And there's mapping cubicles, which is just top notch. So it's all really well placed. So that's probably my favorite thing about Laurier right now, like in terms of physically. best places to chill, I mentioned there's a field right next to the science building called Alumni Field. There's also a couple small restaurants nearby. Most people who aren't in Waterloo won't recognize the street name, but at the corner of Kings Street North and University Street, there's a Starbucks, there's some shawarma places, some sushi places. All of those are great where you just grab something small to bite and then you can just kind of work on whatever, or obviously you can grab a meal with friends. So it's pretty great in the way that just that field and that area are perfect to hang out with people.
Sounds like an ideal university. And what are some 3 tips you can share with high school student who wants to pursue post-secondary education?
I'd say the first is regarding scholarships, and that the basic tip there is apply, apply, apply. A lot of people will see a scholarship, they'll look at the eligibility, and they'll be technically eligible, but then they'll think, okay, I meet the standard, but I'm not competitive enough, and then they won't apply. The problem is there's so many people that do that, that the competition for that scholarship ends up going really low. So then you might have gotten it if you'd applied. So there's really no harm in it. So definitely apply. And on that, within that, make sure that you're applying about things that you're passionate about rather than just resume booster. So look for things that you enjoyed rather than something that just looks really nice in an application. A second tip would probably be when you're looking at universities, look at ones that you aren't expecting to bring you in. Like I wasn't even looking at Laurier when I first started my search for what university. I was almost dead set university, but at the Ontario University Fair in Toronto, I saw the Laurier booth, and I was like, you know what? I might as well just pop by, see what they have to offer, and they just captured me. So visit the small university booths at the whatever university fairs there are, be it at your school or the Ontario University fairs. Just look into every option you think would be the best for you. And then for my third tip, honestly, it's get to know people, because you're transitioning into a brand new environment. Odd, it might be a bit awkward, but if you put yourself out there, everyone is in the exact same situation as you, so people are going to be open to meeting new people. So long as you're willing to talk to people, say, hey, my name is this, I'm in this program, where are you from? Then you'll make some great friends. You'll feel a lot more at home, a lot more comfortable. And it just makes the whole experience that much better, because having a great support group, it makes all the difference.
And last question, anything else you'd like to add, like interesting fact about school or things you didn't know until you attend the campus, university, college, or things, or domes?
Yeah, for sure. So I didn't attend residence when I first moved in because they were online. So I unfortunately can't speak on that, but I can say in terms of living on your own, it seems scary, but it can be really if you've got roommates. I'm currently living in a place that's 5 bed, 5 bath, and these people are people that I met online. So I actually hadn't met them in person until I moved in, which was a bit scary, but it's been fun because you get to become really good friends with your roommates, and you get to try a whole new range of things, which is really nice. I took my first proper meal on my own. Like I've always had my parents there to be almost like the safety net. But being on your own, you get to try new things, and it's exciting in that way. And then just one last thing is probably an interesting fact about my program in particular, so it's a bit less general to university, is that Laurier Health Sciences, it's kind of a hidden gem in the way that out of the 17 health sciences programs in Ontario, it is ranked number 4. So people don't look at it, but it's actually gaining a good reputation. And with its unique approach to health sciences, it's one that will take you far. And especially if there's someone who's taking the med pathway, but are a bit worried about whether or not they'll make it into medical school, it is the perfect degree because it's not only geared towards medical school. You have job options with this degree. You could go into a career in public health management, or you could just go into a master's that would help you specialize in something within that. But no matter what, you're not out of options if you don't make it the first time you apply to med school, obviously assuming you want to go into med. being very specific. So a lot of people will probably listen to that and be like, okay, that doesn't quite apply to me. But overall, it's a good program. Definitely. It's a great program because it provides that other option of public health. It's not just geared towards medicine, which is really nice because you have job prospects straight out rather than having to be, okay, medicine or nothing else. No, that's not applicable to everyone, but for some people that might be really good. And for others that are just interested in health science overall, where in particular they want to go within that, it's a great program because it provides multiple different options rather than just being biological. So I definitely recommend it if someone is considering a life science or a health science. Yeah.
And that brings us to the end of this meeting. Thank you so much, Hafiz, for sharing your experience with us today. And those are all questions I have for you. And to those who are watching, if you have any questions, please feel free to contact our student ambassadors through Instagram or comment down below. Thank you so much, Hafiz, for speaking with us today. And we'll see you guys in the next CAPS video. Bye.